and Americans follow the new tracks west in a tidal wave of hope. May 1846. Thousands of men, women, and children. Riding, walking, pushing. They're heading for a new life 2,000 miles away.
It's always been one of the deep flaws of the American imagination that it can't imagine a future for American Indian people. As Americans, American Indian people have to imagine that for themselves. And that's the hard part.
Keep walking.
1830. Frontier President Andrew Jackson declares a new policy. A policy that America will maintain for more than 100 years. The forced relocation of American tribal people onto reservations. After years of Supreme Court battles, the bill passes Congress by a single vote. Chickasaw, Choctaw, Creek, Seminole, Cherokee, all forced off their nations by the point of a bayonet. An episode in the conquest of the West that even some of the soldiers taking part find shameful. U.S. Army Private John G. Burnett writes,
"The sufferings of the Cherokee were awful. The trail of the exiles was a trail of death. They slept in the wagons and on the ground without fire. I saw as many as 20 die in a single night of pneumonia, cold, exposure."
Move along. Move along.
The march of 1,000 miles becomes a trail of tears.
It's a shameful act in American history, and it's in its own way sort of an iconic act because it really symbolizes what happened to the Native Americans.
(1841), New Orleans, ground zero for the slave trade.
How much?
Since the cotton boom, the value of slaves has skyrocketed. 90% of all African Americans are slaves. 4 million men, women, and children.
We had based this country on everyone having inalienable rights to freedom and equality, and yet we created a system of abject persecution.
Slaves are fattened for auction, like livestock. Dark-skinned men are bought for the fields, light-skinned women for the house.
For the plantation owners, it was like just going to your local supermarket to get sugar or flour. They had become so desensitized to the humanity of the slave that they did not see them as human beings.